Here. Voorhees.
Here.
Leahy.
Here.
Gamba.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Godis.
Here.
Ingraham.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a couple of agenda changes this evening. There will be no update on the 27th Street Bridge, which is agenda item number 10. And agenda item 16, which is the planning item 1-19, which is consideration of a major site architectural plan review for a multi-tenant office retail building on lot 14 at Glenwood Meadows number 2 on Wolfson Road. That item will be continued at the request of the applicant. At this point, I would invite any citizens to speak to council about any items that are not on this evening's agenda. I would ask you to come up to the podium. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes and give us your name and address. Thanks.
I'm Sandy Haber. Hi, Rick. Hi, Jonathan. 1209 Mountain Drive. So I'm here not representing the HOA, even though I'm the Secretary Treasurer. I'm here personally. It has to do with spring cleanup, and it has to do with snow not being removed. So I live in Sunbird HOA. We're 22 homes. Approximately 6 of us have doors on Mountain Drive. There's 1 front door on Old Lodge Road. So about 16 houses don't have a door on a regular street. It's a loop, even though those addresses are Old Lodge Road and Mountain Drive. So we're responsible for our own snow plowing. Previous years, when our privately paid plow pushes all the piles to the end of our private road, the city's always come and taken those piles. Low snow years, not a big deal. Big snow years, big deal. I'm shocked no kids got hit by cars coming out of our private driveways. And I'm surprised there were no car accidents. The piles were huge, and we were told that the city's not taking those snow piles anymore. The other thing is spring cleanup. I've owned this home for 12 or 13 years. We always put all our spring, now I could put it out in the front of my house, but it's easier from my garage to drag it down to the end where we've had 2 pickup sites where the community mailboxes are. So we were told by Jake, whatever his last name is that I put up on Facebook, that we're not eligible for spring cleanup anymore. Only the people, I think it was, who have front doors on the regular street. I might not be right about the front door part, but all the people on the inner part of the loop, those 16 houses, and they also told us, and you can't pile up all their stuff in front of your houses. So, and then I find out on Facebook that the other HOAs, I can't think of the name of it, I'm just having a mental block, the one by the circle, the 3-story ones on the river.
Red Cliffs.
No, by the river, by the circle. Cottonwood Landing, that they don't get spring cleanup. So now I found out that there are other places that don't get spring cleanup. So I'm just voicing a huge personal complaint. We're paying the same taxes as everybody else, but we're not getting that same service. That's it.
All right,
and I'm
thank
totally
you.
against the expansion of the money.
Thank you.
Sandy.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to us about any item not on this evening's agenda? All right, seeing none, I will close it to citizens appearing before council and open it up for any council comments.
I have a comment, kind of a question. On council, it's come to my attention that there's been kind of a rush push by the DDA to send the landscaping and the 2 phases on fountains for the 7th Street project out to bid, and that might require a special meeting in mid-April. And I just had questions on, I'm trying to understand why this is going forward at an accelerated pace. I have concerns about that might drive the costs up higher, and also that it's maybe taken staff time away. We haven't really discussed this on council, and it seems that a top priority, I would think, for the DDA and the city would be to get the 6th Street landscaping done. It's the entrance to our city. We had to put it off last fall, and so I'm just curious about this progress on this change on the 7th Street project.
All right. You know, I'm thinking that this isn't necessarily the place for us to have a back and forth discussion. These are council comments, so we can perhaps discuss that at another time, but is there anyone else that has any comments? All right, I'll go ahead and real quickly just respond to your comments, Shelley. This project didn't just come up. It's been under design for 3 years. It's been contemplated for 6.5 years. The landscaping plans have been in the city's possession for since last June. So I don't think there's any rush here. The budget for it was approved last fall, and the DDA made a request, and we'll see where that goes. You know, there's nothing set in concrete as to any special meetings or anything at this point. If that does happen, then all proper procedures will be followed. So I think I have to say about that. Consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening consists of the following: receipt of the minutes from the February 21st, 2019 and March 7th, 2019 regular meetings. Ordinance number 10, series of 2019, and ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, annexing an enclave into the municipal limits. This is the second reading. Ordinance number 11, series of 2019, and ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, rezoning an enclave property annexed into the municipal limits. This is also the second reading. Resolution 2019-18, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, authorizing and supporting the application for a grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the creation of a revolving loan fund to assist businesses install fire suppression systems. A wastewater treatment facility demolition asbestos change order, and an intergovernmental agreement for public restroom installation and maintenance. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
Second.
A motion by Shelley and a second by Rick to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, next item is Resolution 2019-19, a resolution of the City Council of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, opposing expansion of the transfer trail, regarding expansion of the transfer trail mine and requesting the Bureau of Land Management conduct an environmental impact statement analysis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the last several days, a variety of things have occurred that we felt it important to bring in front of council, and I think council has felt it important to make a statement on an open, fair, and public process regarding this potential mine expansion. As you read in the newspaper, and we've been able to confirm, there was an updated operating plan supplied to the BLM. The BLM is viewing that as not a public document. It's also come to our attention that there are a significant number of documents that have been requested by the Glenwood Citizens Alliance via FOIA request, particularly for documents related to DC that has not been honored as of yet. And most recently, we saw where, in response to a complaint by the citizens group to Garfield County regarding permit violations, back on, I think it was December 10th, that was presented to Garfield County Board of County Commissioners, and at that time, on behalf of the city, we made that same request of a full, open, fair, and public process to review that as well. In light of all of those things coming together, we have prepared the resolution in front of you, and you can put it on me that it got tired of opposing, because that was probably me instead of, sorry. And Jonathan just reminded me that I never push my button. It's the hand.
Do you want to do that all again?
No. Anyway, that it said opposing in the title. It should have said regarding, because this resolution is really trying to forcefully state that the City of Glenwood Springs is looking for that fair, open, public process to evaluate this mine and the impacts on our community, and that it should be heard, and we should be able to see what's going on. The process should be transparent, and requesting that our congressional delegation also make that same request of those federal agencies. So with that, I would turn it over to council. It looks like there's some folks in the room that might want to talk as well.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for staff before I open up for public comment? All right, at this point, I would open up for public comment on this item. Mr. McConaughey, please limit your comments, if you could, to 3 minutes.
Thanks. So I'm here to represent Rocky Mountain Resources. We were a little surprised by the last-minute agenda change because this was not on the agenda that was distributed yesterday. I just happened to notice it this morning.
Can you state his name?
I just wanted to...
For the record, could you give us your name? And
I'm sorry. David McConaughey with Garfield and Hecht, attorney for Rocky Mountain Resources. I just wanted to introduce all of you, let you know I have recently been retained by them to represent them. I'm here in town. Would love the opportunity to talk with the city and meet with you to try to address your concerns. We have no objection to your resolution. It will, of course, be up to the BLM to decide what kind of process they will engage in, whether that's environmental assessment or an EIS, but whatever they decide, my client intends to comply and participate and play by the rules. So,
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Mr. Bergy.
My name is Stephen Bergeny. I reside at 109 Park Drive. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm a member of the board of Glenwood Springs Citizens Alliance, but I'm here tonight as a citizen of Glenwood Springs. I think, with all due respect to Mr. McConaughey, this represents to this community the greatest existential threat that I have seen in my lifetime. And I believe that we have to put the solidarity of the City Council in voting unanimously on this resolution before the public in order for the public to understand that this is indeed a fight that all of us need to be engaged in. We cannot sit quietly by and play nice. It's time for us to protect the integrity of our community, the lives of our citizens and their well-being, and indeed the very ability of our citizens to have the right to make a decent living in a thriving economy that is based not on mineral extraction, but on the invitation, the open invitation to guests to come and enjoy what we all take for granted far too often. I urge you all to vote yes on this resolution, and I hope that the City Council will take a leading role along with us, with our support, to engage very vigorously in this debate and in this fight, because the very soul of Glenwood Springs depends on what we all do. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
My name is Jeff Peterson. I reside at 607 Harvard Drive. I also am a member of Glenwood Springs Citizens Alliance, and just want to commend you and thank you and the staff for putting this resolution in front to provide clear directive on the city's concern of what this mine means to our community. Certainly, as Mr. Hanlon noted, a lot of things are starting to come together, one of which the county issued their staff report noting that RMR is not playing by the rules, or does not appear to be playing by the rules, and is skirting the issues of several of their duties under their special use permit with Garfield County. So there's great concern that that may continue through the process, and we certainly look for the City of Glenwood Springs to play a leading role in understanding the implications and what this may mean for our community. So I just want to thank you and commend you for putting this forth.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
My name is Sarah Gordon. Excuse me, that's really loud. I live in South Glenwood on Sky Ranch Drive, and I just want to remind you all that this before you today is a nonpartisan issue, and it affects our entire community regardless of your address. And I am here to commend you for bringing this forward, and thank you for your sincere and deep consideration on this moving forward, because I know this will be a long fight. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Heather?
Thank you, Council. Heather McGregor, Airport Road. I wanted to just specifically call out my appreciation to each of you and urge a unanimous vote for this resolution. And I'm so glad to see that you are specifically asking for an environmental impact statement as a way for BLM to respond to this request. This is a huge proposal, and it fully warrants an environmental impact statement. So thank you for including that in your resolution.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.
Hi, I'm Joe Malika. I live at 0140 County Road 126, just outside of Glenwood Springs. But I've been living in Glenwood Springs for 30 years now. Been an educator and very involved with the community. So we all know what's in front of us, and we know how big this issue is. I not only appreciate what you guys are doing on this, to taking an opposition role, but I encourage you to use every legal means that you have to fight this. Because think about it, many of us have spent our entire lives helping develop the recreation industry in this town, which is thriving. It's a thriving industry. Go to Shoshone Rapids on Sunday and see what it's like. Go up to Ski Sunlight on the weekend. So we have a lot at stake here, as you well know. So I appreciate what you're doing, and please take every legal action you can to help prevent this development. Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you,
Thanks, Joe.
Mary Steinbrecher, 611 Harvard Drive. I just want to say there are about 10 or 12 more people out here that all want to say thank you very much. This is not just a small isolated group of people that are concerned about this. This is everyone in our community, from Newcastle, Rifle, up to Aspen, are concerned about the devastating effects of what a mining operation could do to our community. So again, we urge a unanimous approval of this resolution, and know that there are plenty of people out here from all over the community that support the City Council in approving this resolution. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I will close it to public comment and bring it back to council. I'm going to go ahead and start the comments. Glenwood Springs is our home. We're a small city with an economy based on travel, tourism, outdoor recreation, fishing, hospitality, and hot springs. We depend upon the mountains, rivers, clear skies, and our natural setting.
Yeah, I'll continue. Rocky Mountain Resources owns the small limestone mine referred to as the Transfer Trail Mine overlooking our town, and seeks to expand that mine by 5,000%. This expansion will lead to large visual scars on our mountains, mire the city in truck traffic, damage the thriving tourist economy, and seriously impact the water quality and air quality for thousands of Coloradans, fundamentally changing the nature of our community by allowing mining 24 hours a day, blasting all day long, and hauling out as many as 500 trucks per day.
RMR's requesting this immense expansion from the U.S. Interior Department, Bureau of Land Management, even though it's not in compliance currently with a small mining permit on federal public lands. Mr. McConaughey, he previously spoke about his client's intent to comply and good intentions. We call on his client to be forthcoming without hiding under the shield of the BLM and just be forthcoming to all the citizens about what their intentions and requests are.
Due to all the damage this expansion will cause to our homes and quality of life, we, the City Council of Glenwood Springs, are requesting the following. The BLM require RMR to conduct a full environmental impact statement analysis under the National Environmental Policy Act to identify the significant effects proposed mining expansion will have on the quality of our environment and our lives.
We'd also like to have the BLM conduct public hearings and make proper findings, determinations, and penalties for non-compliance by RMR under its current permit violations.
The BLM provides the public a copy of RMR's most recent application for the operating plan modification to allow mining expansion.
We also request that the Department of Interior fully answer a Freedom of Information Act request for information about the proposed mine submitted by the Glenwood Springs Citizens Alliance, which is a local citizens group.
Finally, we call for support from our Colorado congressional delegation and request that they stand with the public values and regional economy of Glenwood Springs.
No, that was before.
Does anyone else have any further comments? So I would entertain a motion.
I would like to move for Resolution 2019-19, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, regarding expansion of the Transfer Trail Mine and requesting the Bureau of Land Management conduct an environmental impact statement analysis.
Second.
Third. Have a motion by Jonathan, and I'll go with Steve Davis. I think there was three of them on. I don't know. Maybe Jim got it. Who wants to claim the second?
I'll let Mr. Davis claim it.
Okay, so motion by Jonathan and a second by Steve to approve Resolution 2019-19, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, regarding expansion of the Transfer Trail Mine and requesting the Bureau of Land Management conduct an environmental impact statement analysis. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to say it's about time.
Yes.
I'd also like to thank everybody that showed up here tonight. I'd like to thank the whole community for having their voice heard over and over again, and encourage the community to continue to have your voice heard.
And I would just say that in exactly 28 hours or 28 days from right now, this council will be a new council. And I would encourage whoever is elected to the new council to support this position as well. Let's go ahead and call the question.
Ingraham, yes. Goldish, yes. Davis, yes. Gamba, yes. Leahy, yes. Voorhees, yes. Kaup, yes. Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All right, next item is planning item 8-19, consideration of an application to extend the deadline for filing a development plan from June 20th, 2019 to June 20th, 2027 for the Iron Mountain, really, 2027? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Holy mackerel, that's like, yeah, well, let's just, okay, we'll take like a 30-second breather here.
Huh. I thought we'd clear a lot more people than that.
All right. So, planning item 8-19, consideration of an application to extend the deadline for filing a development plan from June 20th, 2019 to June 20th, 2027 for the Iron Mountain Planned Unit Development.
Mayor and Council, in 2013, Council rezoned the old Holly Quarry from industrial to planned unit development. At that time, the code required that the owner, Steve Beckley, file a site-specific development plan within 6 months of that PUD approval. In 2013, in that same action, council extended this filing deadline to 2016. Then in 2016, it was extended again to June 2019. Steve Beckley requested that council extend the deadline again, as you said, to June 2027. This is due to the uncertainty surrounding the expansion of the Rocky Mountain Resources quarry. For this reason, staff supports this requested extension, and I've included a suggested finding and 2 conditions that are on page, found in your packet on page 319, and on each of your places I put that suggested motion, paper copy. I'm here to answer any questions that you have about that PUD approval, and then Steve Beckley's here to help answer any questions about the development.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Gretchen?
Go ahead, Shelley. I just had one question. I understand the request and actually the need for it, and appreciate that. I'm just wondering why 8 years versus 6, say, for a 2-session.
Sure.
Typical extension is 3 years. How'd you come up with 8?
That is based on a letter that the owner provided to me requesting the extension of 8 years from June 20 of this year. So I'd like Steve to answer the question.
Yeah, does it have some significance, Steve? Or?
Hang on one second. Hey, Steve, hang on one second. Let's get through our staff report. Sorry.
Okay.
We'll get it. What's that? Is that okay if we ask Gretchen questions first? And
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't mean to jump in on you there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Any other questions for Gretchen at this point?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Tyler.
All right. Steve?
Roll of order. Steve Beckley, 802 North Traver Trail. The 8 years was completely random. There was no 6 is fine. 8. Just give me some time to see what happens with the RMR quarry, because this is right in the line of fire with everything that's going on at that with that project.
Okay. Thanks.
So you're not just trying to get beyond the term limits of all the new council that's coming in?
No.
Okay.
All right.
I'm suspect of that.
All right. Any further questions for the applicant? Thanks, Steve. All right. At this point, I'd like to open it up for any public comment on this item. Mr. McConaughey.
Hi again. David McConaughey, Garfield and Hecht, representing Rocky Mountain Resources. My client takes some issue with the basis for the request and disagrees that it's anything RMR has done to cause the need for this. But having said that, we would like to work with the city and Mr. Beckley to address his concerns. We certainly do not oppose any growth of his business and support the extension and hope you'll grant his request. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Anyone else? Mr. Bergeny.
Once again, Stephen Bergeny, 109 Park Drive. I would just like council to appreciate the irony of one person trying to reclaim an old quarry while another is trying to destroy a mountain.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, I will close it to public comment and bring it back to council for discussion and/or motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I move that we.
Yeah, it's this one.
Jeez, I was about to get really creative. Okay.
No, here. That's not.
Oh, no,
that's not
yeah, he's got it.
You got it. You got it.
Okay.
Okay. I move to approve planning item 0819. Consideration of an application to extend the deadline for filing a development plan from June 20, 2019 to June 20, 2027 for the Iron Mountain Planned Unit Development, with one finding and two conditions found on page 319 of the March 21, 2019 council packet.
Second.
We have a motion by Jim and a second by Rick to approve planning item 8-19, consideration of an application to extend the deadline for filing a development plan from June 20th, 2019 to June 20th, 2027 for the Iron Mountain Planned Unit Development, with one finding and two conditions found on page 319 of the March 21st, 2019 council packet. Any further discussion? Let's call the question.
Ingraham, yes. Goldish, yes. Davis, yes. Gamba, yes. Leahy, yes. Burgess, yes. Kaup, yes. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Next item is, we anticipate continuing, planning item 1-19, consideration of a major site architectural plan review for a multi-tenant office/retail building, lot 14, Glenwood Meadows, number 2, Wolfson Road. I would entertain a motion to continue to the May 2nd, 2019 regular council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Jonathan, a second by Steve to continue this item to the May 2nd, 2019 regular council meeting. Any further discussion?
I'm disappointed I didn't get a punt that. I'm the punter.
This is kind of a punt.
This is kind of a punt.
Let's call the question.
Ingraham, yes. Goldish, yes. Davis, yes. Gamba, yes. Leahy, yes. Burgess, yes. Kaup, yes. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, ordinance number 8, series of 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, amending section 100.010.030, parentheses C, weed and grass control. And that's the kind that grows in your yard, not the kind that you get at a dispensary. So, just wanted to clarify. There's, you never know these days. So, do we have a discussion, or do we have a?
I'm not sure if Al's here to talk about it a little bit. It's pretty self-explanatory, and I really have to apologize. I drafted it while I was in the hospital. I had my shoulder done. So, I will do my best to answer. I will do my best to answer questions, and I think Al can speak to kind of the enforcement provisions and what we're trying to accomplish.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Carl or for Al with respect to this?
Does Al, are we getting a presentation?
Do you want to give us a presentation, Al? No?
Basically, it'd be a rehash of what you've already had and for what was the staff report, which I could read to you again, but basically just trying to bring on board the incorporating into the existing ordinance, which relates to public health, the ability to work with citizens and to minimize the growth of invasive weeds.
So I'm a little concerned that I'm going to have to do something about all the dandelions in my yard.
Dandelions are not considered invasive weeds. They're not on our,
I'm set then.
our invasive list.
All right. I mean, I'm not a big dandelion fan, but it's either that or I put weed and feed down and kill my fruit trees. So anyway, any other questions for Al or
I had a quick
staff?
question.
Go ahead.
Just to clarify, this plan, as I understand it, doesn't have any wholesale spraying or widespread spraying of areas by the city or any others, and it doesn't particularly threaten getting into our rivers or water supply that way.
This mechanism allows us to work with code enforcement to notify a citizen to say, we or someone in my department or a citizen has brought to our attention that there's an invasive weed that is on the list that is prepared statewide and then modified to be specific to our region, and to work with that citizen to say you need to minimize the propagation of that particular weed on your private property. So there can be recommendations of hand pulling, herbicide applications. There's certain bugs that will affect certain weeds on that list. So it's not widespread spraying.
Okay, thanks, Al.
All right, any other questions? All right, thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the public who would like to comment on this item?
Debbie Martin, 573 Sunny Acres Road, Glenwood. I would just like to thank everybody in the city for their help with getting this going, moving forward. I hope you support it. I also wanted to reiterate that the Garfield County Extension has offered its assistance in non-toxic ways as well as spraying if need be to help citizens both with education and with ways to eradicate the weeds. And I hope you support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any other public comments? All right, seeing none, I will close it to the public and bring it back to council for discussion and or motion.
So I'll move that the council approve ordinance number 8, series of 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, amending 100.010.030C, weed and grass control, to include the noxious weed management plan.
I second that.
Motion by Jim and a second by Shelley to approve ordinance number 8, series of 2019, and ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, amending municipal code section 100.010.030C, weed and grass control, with the weed and grass control or noxious weed management plan. Any further discussion? Let's call the question.
Ingraham, yes. Goldish, yes. Davis, yes. Gamba, yes. Leahy, yes. Voorhees, yes. Kaup, yes. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, next item, ordinance number 13, series of 2019, and ordinance of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, adopting a new section 090.040.120 regarding hauling routes to the Glenwood Springs Municipal Code and setting forth the regulations and permit requirement for commercial hauling operations in the city. This is a first reading.
Good evening, Council. As you're aware, we have had a lot of focus lately on trying to improve the condition of some of our failing streets. And with that effort, we realized that we were having a fair amount of damage, not only from just having the streets be old, but also from continuing use from trucks. From an engineer's perspective, when we're designing roads, we often base our pavement design on what we call equivalent single axle loads. And just as from a simplistic comparison standpoint, when you're evaluating a pavement design, you could think of it as a simple 2x4, if you will. And if you allow a train of mice to cross the 2x4, usually there's no damage. But as soon as you put the elephant on top of the 2x4, that 2x4 is smashed. It's a very simplistic analysis of what happens, the difference between car loading and truck loading. There are a lot of engineering statistics about how trucks damage the roads that we have, and we would like to have this addressed through a new ordinance, particularly as we go through an effort to improve our streets. We would like to protect those streets as they are improved.
Yeah, and I'm going to follow up on that. I'm actually going to ask that we continue this item tonight based on, it was great to get it out there in the public, and we've got some feedback, and I've heard from some of you all as well. But I also wanted to kind of frame it up in terms of when you think about the big picture of Glenwood Springs, and for some of you who were here in the early to mid-2000s when there was a lot of concern about both oil and gas, or gas development at 4 Mile as well as logging at 4 Mile, and that's the first time when I, as the attorney, started trying to figure out how to address this with the then city engineer. And as the economy turned, it wasn't as important anymore, and it wasn't on the front burner anymore. But when you think about that, we're spending something like $20 million between the Sunlight Bridge and South Midland over the next couple of address what happens to our roads by these haul routes, by these heavy trucks going through, and as Terry described, how much more significant the impact is on our roads by those heavy trucks. Also, when you think about, Garfield County is a county that continues to rely heavily on extractive resources. Most recently, the county commissioners, of course, voted not to support legislation that would have permanently banned drilling in the Thompson Divide, citing the fact that they wanted to maintain that flexibility into the future because it's so important to the economy of Garfield County. So we recognize that that's part of what's going on around us as far as extractive industries go. And so this is I think it really, in terms of the mechanism to evaluate how it's impacting our roads, it's got all the technical stuff that I don't understand. I think the piece that I want to take a couple more weeks to work on is how to address what's going on with those goods and services that are coming in to be used by the citizens of Glenwood Springs, and particularly how that impacts businesses that are paying significant amounts of sales tax that do go to fix our roads, as opposed to those industries maybe that are just passing through that don't have that same kind of impact or don't provide that same kind of support to the community. And you can think about whether it's a truck, going to Target or to City Market versus maybe a logging truck or an oil and gas truck coming down 4 Mile. There's a difference there. One is just trying to get to Highway 82. The other one's trying to provide goods and services that are used by our community. Sorry. Roxanne will be really happy that you keep telling me to do that. So anyway, we'd like to take a little bit of time, a couple of weeks, to work on improving that particular section. I imagine the analysis of impact is going to be the same, but we may try to categorize those uses a little bit differently, recognizing that some of them have a direct benefit to the town, to the city, through the provision of those goods and services. So with that, I'd ask that you continue it, but I just felt like I needed to frame up so the public understood why we're, big picture as well as, on the ground that Terry was talking about, trying to address this, and that this has been an issue that we've been trying to address and figure out a way to address in town for, 15 of the 20 years that I've represented the city.
And Carl, would you advise us that we not take public comment tonight and wait till the next meeting?
I think it would be best to wait, only because I think the changes that I've heard and that I think I got a little bit of direction from some of you guys individually over the course of the day about ideas on this idea of sort of how it impacts our community. It's going to be a significant change to this ordinance. It's not going to change, the engineering is the simple part. The lawyering is where it all gets fuzzy. So Terry's piece is really completed. My piece is yet to be done, and I think that the public, that's probably the piece that the public's going to most want to comment on.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Carl or Terry?
No.
Yeah, if you want to make a motion.
Make a motion. I would move that we continue consideration of ordinance number 13 of 2019 so that we can consider and give the attorney time to work on revisions to that ordinance for further consideration.
Do you want to include in your motion a date, continue it to?
Till the April
4th?
4th meeting for City Council.
All right.
Second.
So we have a motion by Shelley and a second by Jim to continue this item to our next regularly scheduled meeting on April 4th. Any further discussion? Let's call the question.
Ingraham, yes. Goldish, yes. Davis, yes. Gamba, yes. Leahy, yes. Voorhees, yes. Kaup, yes. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, next item, ordinance number 14, series of 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, amending municipal code to allow Glenwood Springs City Council to reschedule or cancel a regular City Council meeting by resolution. This is a first reading.
All right, this is one that kind of dropped off. Sorry. Kind of dropped off my to-do list a while back, and I'm trying to get it back on, which was simply that in the code today, it takes an ordinance to change the date of a meeting. From time to time, we need to shift a meeting because of, whether it's the 4th of July holiday or an election date or whatever. And to just make that a little bit more flexible, or frankly, because I don't have a quorum, we don't have a quorum. So that's really all this is doing. It's pretty straightforward.
All right, any questions for Carl? Go ahead, Shelley.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions because I know that, you know, this is the way we've done it for a long time, and typically we would look ahead of the year and say, for example, this year we're going to need to probably cancel the July 4th meeting because it falls on July 4th. So some of those things we can plan out ahead. So my question was kind of, why are we doing this now?
Yeah.
And
so I would tell you that last year, if you'll recall, or maybe it was even last fall, we had a meeting where we were not going to have a quorum.
Right.
But we technically had to show up and have somebody in the room in case the public showed up to say, we're not having a meeting because we don't have a quorum, because we didn't have a quorum, whereas we could have simply announced that to the public via resolution that we were canceling the meeting for lack of a quorum. We didn't have a mechanism to do that.
Okay, and how do other towns do it? Is it typically resolution, or?
Yeah, it's usually something like this, or even just a motion, or just the staff has the flexibility to not schedule one.
So most of them don't have the rigors.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
not this, you know, very tight way of dealing with that. Obviously, to change the schedule, the overall schedule of the meetings would require an ordinance of the city council or to do that. This is simply canceling a particular regular meeting.
Okay.
That's all you're changing.
That's helpful. Thanks.
All right, any further questions for Carl? Is there anyone in the public who would like to comment on this item? Don't you all care about whether or not we use an ordinance or resolution to cancel a regular meeting?
Come on, Ryan.
All right, I will close it to public comment, bring it back to council for discussion and or a motion.
So I'll move that we adopt ordinance number 14, series of 2019, an ordinance of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, amending the Glenwood Springs Municipal Code to allow Glenwood Springs City Council to reschedule or cancel a regular City Council meeting by resolution.
Second.
We have a motion by Jim and a second by Steve to approve ordinance number 14, series of 2019, and ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, amending municipal code to allow Glenwood Springs City Council to reschedule or cancel a regular City Council meeting by resolution. Any further discussion? Let's call the question.
Ingraham, yes. Goldish, yes. Davis, yes. Gamba, yes. Leahy, yes. Voorhees, yes. Cope, yes. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, next item, ordinance number 15, series of 2019, and ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, amending section 070.040.060 of the Municipal Code. Hi, Gretchen.
Hello again. This actually just clears up an accidental omission from ordinance number 3, which you all reviewed and approved back in January. That ordinance number 3 made certain corrections to Title 070, our new development code. We inadvertently left out this item, which is a correction in how we calculate off-street parking. The new code tells us we need to calculate it by gross floor area, whereas our old code, it was just floor area. It makes a difference. Right now, it actually increases the amount of off-street parking someone has to have, and we all know that that was not your intention. So that's what this ordinance number 15 does, makes that correction. So I'm requesting that you approve ordinance 15. And
Thanks,
I'll take
Gretchen.
questions that you have.
Any questions for Gretchen? All right. Anyone from the public who would like to comment on this item? All right, I will close it to public comment, bring it back to council for discussion and or a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance number 15, series of 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, amending section 070.040.060 of the Municipal Code. First reading.
A second.
A motion by Rick and a second by Shelley to approve ordinance number 15, series of 2019, and ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, amending section 070.040.060 of the Municipal Code. Any further discussion? Let's call the question.
Ingraham, yes. Goldish, yes. Davis, yes. Gamba, yes. Leahy, yes. Voorhees, yes. Kaup, yes. Motion passes unanimously.
Next item is SGM additional services at Two Rivers.
I think there's item 20.
I did.
Yep.
Whoops, I marked off the wrong one, sorry. Next item, Resolution 2019-17, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, repealing the administrative fee from the residential parking policy. Sorry about that, was not intentional. We have a staff discussion on this one?
I would just say at the last meeting, you guys asked us to take another look at the recently adopted parking permit rules, and we're bringing back this option to you. Wanted to look at the $50 fee, so we're giving you an opportunity to repeal the fee if you would like.
Jonathan.
I'm supposed to ask staff questions, right?
Yes.
Are you new at this? How was your day, Deborah?
Wonderful. What are you gonna do now?
I was going to comment on it, but then I forgot for a second that we were in. I yield my time
to the gentleman from Florida. No. Sorry.
That's a good stave.
Okay. All right. Anyone have any actual questions for Deborah? Where are you going on spring break? I'm kidding.
I still really don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I will close it to, or I'm going to open it up to public comment. Does anyone from the public have any comments on this? All right. Seeing none, I will close it to public.
Yeah.
Oh.
There we go.
Thank you. My name is Ryan Muse. I live at 544 Traver Trail. I didn't know this was on the agenda. I came in support of you guys for the opposition to RMR. I stayed because I saw this was on the agenda. My in-laws live at 921 Colorado, and they were just, along with a lot of their neighbors, are just pretty furious about this fee. It's such a uptick in what they were paying originally, and I just got to say, we have one of their parking passes to park there because we take care of their house whenever they're on vacation, stuff like that, and so we have one of their 2 current passes from previous years. You know, you get one once a year, blah blah blah. So anyways, we wouldn't get one anymore. They're just pretty upset about it, and we've talked to a lot of their neighbors, and a lot of their neighbors are too. It's a pretty upsetting issue for those people. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, I will close it to the public and bring it back to council for a discussion and or a motion.
Or any more questions?
Jonathan.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments, Ryan. I've heard that from a lot of other folks as well. You know, we do ask a lot of our citizens for various things, but we also try to provide a lot of services. I think this was an attempt to try to defray some of the administrative costs, but it really was just kind of a shot, and we've heard a lot of people voice their concerns about it, and so I'm happy to make the motion, or I'm happy to have other people talk about it more if they'd like. So seeing none, I'd like to
That's a good. Keep going.
Thank you. I'd like to move the City Council of City.
You see none. You can't even see the lights.
I have fantastic.
Oh, yeah, blinders.
And they can comment on the after I make the resolution. The City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, repealing the administrative fee from the residential parking permit policy.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Jonathan and a second by Jim to approve Resolution 2019-17, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, repealing the administrative fee from the residential parking policy. I believe Mr. Davis, you would like to make a comment?
Well, I'll keep it short. I'm not going to support this. It's a trivial thing, really, and it amounts to all of about $3,700 a year. towards the police department for processing this fee. I have to pay $35 a year for my chicken in my backyard. We debated long today to charge people $350 to have a short-term rental. There's always some cost associated with processing permits to the city. And for $50 a year, I can park right up at my front door with a in a 2-hour parking zone and be left alone for 3 days at a time. Seems like a very small price to pay. One of my constituents said, "What do you think we are, Chicago?" I said, "No, in Chicago I'd probably pay $25,000 a year for the opportunity to do that." So anyway, this was never intended to be a parking fee. It just happens to be the cost incurred by the police department to process the permit and to make sure that those permits hanging on the street are all appropriately used and not abused.
Thanks, Steve. Rick?
Yeah, I am going to vote to support this resolution with the understanding that it will probably come back. At some point, we'll have a comprehensive parking plan for the city. We'll have some convergence, I think, on what we want to do with short-term rentals and parking in short-term rentals. And so I think until that day comes, until we take a look at the total needs of parking downtown and probably on the North Landing, I'm willing to support this resolution with the idea that there'll be more to come.
Thanks, Rick. Todd?
Just for fun, I gotta say something.
Just for, we're way ahead of schedule. Way ahead.
Way ahead. So I hope Rick is right. I think we actually have a staff now that will get on this comprehensive parking study. I think we talked about this the first week we were on council 8 years ago.
That's why I snickered a little bit, Rick. It wasn't toward you.
Yeah,
it was just like
we kind of chuckled
you have
at the
these
same
bright
time.
and shiny hopes of what might get done.
But I actually think I think we have a group
bashing
now that,
staff for that.
No,
sorry.
You're next. Yeah. I am. So anyway, I do hope that we do get a comprehensive parking study, and that we move towards getting this more correct than we have now.
Yeah.
But the little snicker from Mike and I was not your comment. It was the fact that we had addressed this almost 8 years ago and nothing about this staff. So I think we actually have a staff now with enough energy and resolve that will tackle this. So I hope that's correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna not say anything before I say something that I'm gonna regret. So
we punted for 8 years on that one.
We did. So not intentionally, but it's what happened.
I was kicking hard.
Let's call the question.
Ingraham, yes. Goldish, yes. Davis, no. Gamba, yes. Leahy, yes. Voorhees, yes. Cobb, yes. Motion passes.
All right. Next item, SGM additional services at Two Rivers.
I do have a presentation. Give me a moment. I'm going to put up a graphic for you guys.
No, we spent a lot of money on it. Yeah, we spent 50 grand.
Oh, that study?
And then we spent 50 grand on a downtown circulation study just to determine whether we could make one block of Cooper two-way. That cost us 50 grand.
Yeah.
Instead of
previous.
Yeah. We could have built some curb and gutter with that.
Mm-hmm.
Council vacation.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys see that as well?
Yep.
Okay. About a month or so ago, maybe a month and a half, Brian and I came before this council and talked to you about the Two Rivers Park and the need for additional engineering services there. And we had a discussion about some potential changes, some different ideas that the council had regarding the park design. And so we spent some time with our consultants and came up with kind of these broad areas that we were going to be able to focus on. You can see some of them outlined there on the map. Some of them are easier than others. You know, the region 1 is that area, the channel area and the island area. And in our last discussion, we talked about removing the bridge structure and removing the on-island trail, and you know, trying to create more of a lazy float area through the channel for families, and to create a soft trail down from the road there. Those are easy changes, and I think are included in our scope here. Other easy changes are more analysis of the ramp and the turning radiuses and the dimensions of the island. Those are also included in the scope. Additional structural design for the ramp, for the bathroom. Those are adds to the new scope. The two parts that are a little bit harder that we discussed at the last meeting were the trail section, the lower trail. We talked about evaluating the grading of that trail to try and determine whether we could reduce the amount of rock that was needed for the project by taking out perhaps that upper bench above the proposed trail, and maybe trying to grade that back without affecting the potential for vendor spaces adjacent to the existing concrete trail. So they've included some scope for regrading and analysis of that, but I think that that there will be another decision point with the council. We'll come before you with that idea and this idea, and allow you guys to tell us which one you want to proceed with. Similarly, with the existing band shell, we've talked a little bit about whether that is structurally sound, whether it's whether the use is good, whether it could be improved, you know, from a protection standpoint, from you know, a rain and sunlight standpoint, as well as the idea of perhaps changing the grading of the park to make more of an amphitheater field in front of the existing band shelter. And then secondarily, removing that smaller amphitheater that's shown down by the river, and perhaps enlarging that area and creating a space for larger concerts. So those are two areas where we would like to authorize the additional SGM scope, but we will have a secondary check-in with you guys in a month or two to show you what we've come up with and allow you to choose which direction we move forward with. So with those, I would like to ask if you would approve the additional, it's an additional $51,000 in scope to analyze these elements. The additional $51,800 would bring the total SGM contract for you know, the re-engineering of this project to $159,672. And I believe Deborah asked that this amount, additional amount, come from the A&I funds, because it's currently unbudgeted.
I'm sorry, what was the last one?
It would come from the A&I funds.
Questions?
All right, questions for Terry? Shelley?
I was wondering if in the additional work that will be done by SGM, will that include cost estimates?
Yes.
It will.
Yeah, preliminary cost estimates, particularly related to the amphitheater designs out there.
Right, right, and
yeah.
Any other changes there?
Yeah.
Okay, and because that will enable us to evaluate them based on moving forward with the park upgrades and
yeah,
fit that in. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Terry? Thanks, Terry.
Yep.
Anyone from the public who would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close it to the public and bring it back to council for discussion and/or motion.
So when is it intended that we would hear back to the entire scope of SGM's work?
So Shelley had asked that we bring the whole contract back in August for to rebid, and we intend to meet that schedule. We are a little bit behind on what they proposed, but I still think we'll be able to get back here, you know, in mid-August. But I think in between that check-in point regarding the lower trail and the amphitheater, let me double check. They proposed a schedule. alternatives chosen. So it looks like in early May we're coming back to the council with that decision point.
Okay, thank you.
And certainly, it's my understanding, and just to be clear, is that if we are able to have this put together to put it back out to bid no later than September 1st, giving respondents 90 days, puts them up to December 1st, still gives us an opportunity to be back in the river come January, which is going to be the ideal time to start on this project.
Yes, this year they really wanted us to enter the water February 15th. So I think that will allow plenty of time for us to, begin to stage the project and enter the water.
This is only the second year we've punted this, so
I know.
We really don't want to do it again.
I understand.
Is there anybody else?
Go ahead.
In the queue. I'm supportive of moving this entire project forward. I'm struggling a little with the size of the. It looks from the sheet I'm looking at here that there was a previous fee of $108,000 for work that had already been done, and it felt to me that what we were doing was sort of modifications to a major plan that had been engineered already, and yet the modifications are half again the price. Can somebody make me a little more comfortable with that?
Sure. The additions come in the area of additional survey, for instance. With this addition of the upper park area and the ideas of regrading of the area in front of the band shell and the area to the north of the existing or of the lower amphitheater shown, we're going to pick up more area there and regrade. In the site civil design, we are looking at the boat ramp again, reevaluating the turning radiuses and the teardrop configuration, as well as the potential for tie-down areas. We talked a little bit about that, and so we'll run some AutoCAD analysis through there, as well as looking at the structural engineering of the boat ramp.
I thought we were just kind of moving that boat ramp over a foot or two or something.
And we did talk about moving the boat ramp, but I do think that it comes with that turning radius analysis and making sure that we're getting the exact right backing movement for people that are not, are I guess less comfortable with those kinds of things. Your typical weekend boater. So it does come with that, but we did talk also about creating tie-down areas for them and the analysis of where those might be and looking at the turning radiuses into the parking lot, those kinds of things. So some civil work there. Additional channel analysis, the river hydrology there, the original design had kind of a drop pool system. It wasn't really necessarily designed to float under. We're going to kind of redesign that idea with the idea of floating through and creating more of a family-friendly environment through the channel. In addition to adding a soft trail from the existing road down to the water there. So kind of pulling it what you see out and trying something new there. Trail analysis, I think I described a little bit earlier. The amphitheater review, I think that's clear, and I think those are the changes that come to that 51,000.
Previously, there was no discussion of the existing band shell and building a weather resistant cover over that and berming up the.
That's true. There will be
the back side of that, and previously there was also no discussion of even looking at, and I question whether we should or not, but we'll know at the end of this about increasing the possible size of the amphitheater area built into the riverbank, and maybe that takes the place of the band shell altogether. And so I get it. There's a lot of moving parts and pieces other than just taking out a bridge and moving the ramp a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions for Terry, other than actually we're in the discussion and or motion stage here, so. Don't all speak at once.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve, I guess, to approve the additional services from SGM to try to get us closer to a contract stage in this project. When everybody's second at once.
We have a motion by Steve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Steve, a second by Shelley to approve the additional services for SGM on the Two Rivers Park Shoreline Restoration Project. Any further discussion?
So just to kind of have a little bit of discussion before everyone votes, I'm feeling the heartburn.
Yeah.
I mean, does anybody want to have, you know, any discussion about that? I mean, I'm kind of think I'm feeling the same thing you guys are. Maybe we just go ahead and vote and we'll see where it goes. But, you know, I mean, obviously we all want this project to happen. I mean, I don't think anybody up here doesn't. I don't want to speak for everyone, but no, it's just always frustrating when we put things out there and then and they come, we get things coming back, and I don't know. And maybe I'm just confused as to where we're at in this process, but it's just a little. Your comment about it's half as much as the whole thing the first time, and we're just looking at a couple little tweaks, I think. Maybe I'm not understanding that.
Well, I mean, the first time, SGM didn't provide all the services for the original design. Do you know roughly the cost of what we paid to, can't think of his name? Yeah.
I don't know what his current contract is, but I do think that you know, we had a request to approve services for Gary, which I think will be greatly reduced, and so I think that we will be saving some money in that contract that can be, you know, used to go ahead and move this closer to a biddable set. So I think that there. We haven't brought that back to you yet, but I think that that'll be on the positive plus side of the column. I do want to warn you that you know, another contractor that we have out here on this project is Doug Pratt, and he is doing more detailed design of the landscaping layout and the lighting layout for us. And there are some changes to that. I will bring them back in a future meeting, but I know you're feeling some heartburn, so I want to give you a warning in advance.
Who is doing the architectural work on the bathroom?
You know, we were going to go with just a canned bathroom, I guess, if you will, a standard design. There wasn't really. SGM was going to fill in with the structural and the utility work, you know, the pad to set it on, but there really wasn't an architectural design for the bathroom.
And the company, though, on the bathroom, I just have to draw a similarity to the bathrooms we're doing downtown here. You've been looking at a bathroom company that actually that's what they do, is bathrooms in some prefabricated state.
Yes.
And they would provide the engineering for the pad and the footings and tell you what water lines to bring in and all that. For the most part, I would think. They certainly did down here.
I think they at least get you to the connections that you need to make. But for this particular restroom location, we actually are going to have to likely put in a lift station to bring it to our existing line. We need to, you know, evaluate the capacity of our existing line on the other side of the park. I think we've got a fair amount of utility work to do out there. It's not just a standard, you know, plug it in and it'll work.
I understand that, but what I was referring to is really the typical foundation work and things like that that they would want for the pad. You know, I made the motion and I feel all the anxiety. I probably feel more anxiety around this than maybe anybody up here, because I've sat on the River Commission, I sat on Park and Rec. We have beat this horse for 3 years that I can think of, and every year we thought we were going to get it in the water and start doing something, and now here we are still not doing anything. Yes, it is an A&I project. No question about that. I'm glad for that. We ought to get something from that we can actually show the public that we've done there. So,
if you're done, I'll answer your thing. Because I suppose I led off with the heartburn causing like a bowl of bad chili over here or something. But I intend to support it. It was a question, and there probably is, even though I haven't been around that long, sort of a sense of it. You keep thinking we're going to get in the water, and we just keep getting another design bill for it, and that's the frustration. But you know, I intend to support it so we can get the darn thing done.
I think you just hit it on the head. That's what I was feeling. I was like, gosh, we seem like we've been at this a long time. How do we, you know, how come we don't have this designed already, and we're paying more to design it either again or for the first time? I'm not sure which one it is because I forget. Seems like we've been at it for a while, but again, I'm good with that. I mean, I don't want to be holding this up. We need to get it done for the community. The community voted on this project. They wanted this project as part of the NI funds, and they want us to do it.
Yeah. Right. I can clarify all your questions in about an hour and a half.
Tonight?
Over a beer?
If, you know, if that's what you want.
I'm good. I'm good.
Shelley?
I'm feeling the same things. It's a bit frustrating with this that it's been in design so long. I feel like we're redesigning things that we already paid for design, but apparently some of the original design wasn't quite up to standards we need. And if we want to make sure this gets built for the long haul and that it's there for many years to come, then I'm willing to support it and try to get it right, and hopefully we can stay on schedule and be working on this by next winter.
Right.
Yeah,
can I just make one more comment? I mean, really, in a nutshell, we had a project here that we had guesstimated at about $2.3 million. We ended up getting one bid for $4 million. So that's what, you know, took it all back in. Obviously, there's things we're going to have to redesign.
Right.
We have to figure out how to get the best bang for our buck here, and that wasn't it. So
yep,
that's where you end up.
All right. So we have a motion to approve the additional services from SGM for the Two Rivers Park Shoreline Restoration Project. I think the motion was by Steve and second by Shelley. Let's call the question.
Ingraham, yes. Goldish, yes. Davis, yes. Gamba, yes. Leahy, yes. Voorhees, yes. Kaup, yes. Motion passes unanimously.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks,
Terry.
Thanks.
All right. Next item is board and commission appointments for the Vale Board, the Historic Preservation Commission, and the Housing Commission.
Mayor Gamble, I was not present for those interviews today, so I will sit back and not participate.
Okay.
No, I'll support you in your decisions.
All right.
I do.
So we have on the Historic Preservation Board, we have 2 open seats and 2 applicants. On the Housing Commission, we have 2 open seats and 2 applicants. We actually did not interview them, I guess, for that reason. And I can't find the names right here.
Can I make a comment while you're looking?
Yeah.
You know, I think even though people were seated and maybe not opposed, I think we still should have those people come and re-interview for the re-up, because I have no idea, really. I think it's so important that we know who these people are that are sitting on our boards and commissions, and that's our one opportunity to kind of have a what is maybe a once every 2 or 3 or 4 year opportunity to spend 10 minutes with them and talk to them about what their goals are and what our goals might be. And if we're not going to do that, I think that we ought to at least have an annual work session, 23-minute work session with at least every board and commission that we have, because there's a lot of boards and commissions we never have a work session with.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Deborah.
I was going to say, I apologize if we missed that. You guys had kind of told us you wanted to not interview people you might have known, and we kind of made a guess at it. So I think at some point we should really sit down and talk about who do you really want to interview.
Yeah.
And I do think, we have been trying to fit in one meeting with each board and commission, and I think this year we're going to try to do a bigger visioning session that hopefully includes like at least 2 members of each board. So we're trying to figure out how to integrate better.
We just didn't want to talk to Charlie again.
I did not realize it was just about Charlie.
Clearly understandable. So is this something we're tabling then, or we?
Well, no, we did interview three applicants for the Vail Board, but the question is, we have 2 applicants for the Housing Commission, a John Matthew Spidell and
Aaron.
What's the other name?
Aaron, I have to look up her last name. She actually attended the last Housing Commission meeting. Okay.
Aaron Bradshaw.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have 2 for the Historic Preservation Commission. Haley Carmer, and who's the other applicant? Anyone know?
No.
Let me find it here. Edward Chusid, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Huh?
Chisig?
C-H-U-S-I-D? Chusid?
Something like that.
Chusid?
He's on the historic preservation right now. So is Haley.
Okay.
Oh, they're both on.
Now, are John Matthew Spidell and Aaron Bradshaw both on the Housing Commission?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't believe they are. We can always put this to the next meeting and set up interviews if you would like to talk to them.
I love nothing more than doing interviews. Can we punt that to...
Can we do it on this council?
Sounds like maybe we're not ready for these votes tonight.
I think we're ready for the Vail.
Yeah, so I mean, we did interview 3 applicants for the 1 seat on the Vail Board. We could vote for that.
Yep.
Is there a... wait a minute, I haven't voted yet. Hang on.
What was it? Is there a what?
Is there a general consensus that we should punt for the time being on the housing and historic preservation?
Yeah, I'd like to talk to those people.
I would too. How about you, Paul?
So for now, until we change it, we're interviewing everybody.
I think actually on April 18th, after about 6:30 or 7, there probably won't be much on the agenda. I would suggest that the new council interview housing and...
That would be in
I kind of think this would be a great work session for the 2nd meeting in April.
Okay.
Well, no, because that council can't take any action on that.
I know, so you just have to do it twice.
Right.
Perfect for Steve.
Yeah. I'll be absent during that work session.
I think we can wait until the first meeting in May.
Okay.
We are currently advertising also for a resignation to fill the position on the DDA. And so maybe we can roll that into the same. Ken Murphy. His term was up in June, and he felt like he was too busy in the spring between now and then to really do justice to his position, so he resigned yesterday.
Okay. All right.
We've advertised it. It was in the paper today, so it's a good position to try to fill.
I would say, just real quick, going back to the Vail Board, we had 3 very qualified applicants, and it's unfortunate we only get to choose one of them, but nonetheless, that's why we get paid the big bucks up here.
Yep. Deborah, are you ready? Okay. Tara Rosinski,
Tara Rosinski, Patty Cummings, Tara Rosinski, Tara Rosinski, Patty Cummings.
Okay. Tara Rosinski it is.
All right. So, report from city administration, city manager.
I am good. Thank you all very much. I'll see you on April 1st, which is Robin's retirement party.
Right. I haven't responded to that. Is it too late to do
I think
that?
you have until the end of the day tomorrow. I would encourage you all to attend.
It's on Monday.
It's on Monday.
Monday night.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Monday what time?
Well, there's two. There's a lunch at the community center.
There's a lunch and then an evening event because Robin has been with us for so long.
They don't serve beer.
Is there
going
going to be free beer?
Not
No.
Evening dinner?
We are springing for some appetizers.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
Hey, just so everybody knows, I'll still be out the country, and that's not a reflection on Robin or my desire to be there. I just want to let everybody know how much I really do wish I could be there.
Yeah, I as well. I will be out of town. However, my home will be filled with other people.
That's creepy.
He had to go back there,
For the
didn't he?
viewing audience.
He's had to go back there.
All right. City attorney.
I don't think my house is empty.
All right.
Stephen, it's good to see you back in the room.
Huh?
Thanks for all your work on that.
Exactly. We're adjourned.